So let's talk about the business of Donald Trump. We're going to explore the story of how he didn't just build an empire of steel and glass, but maybe more importantly, how he constructed a myth around himself, this larger-than-life narrative of triumph that has really defined his entire career.
We're going to follow the epic deals, the absolutely crushing bankruptcies that nearly wiped him out, and then the almost unbelievable comeback that followed.
All right, so how did he do it? How do you build an empire, lose everything, and then somehow win it all back? Let's dive in, and we're going to start at the beginning, in a world that's pretty far from the glitzy penthouses of Manhattan.
To really get a grip on the empire, you have to understand the ambition. And that started with this really stark contrast between his father, Fred, and his own vision for what was possible. You see, his dad built a formidable kingdom of sturdy, profitable, but, let's be honest, unglamorous apartment buildings out in Queens and Brooklyn. Donald? He dreamed of building palaces, and his first masterpiece was seeing this golden opportunity where everybody else just saw ruin, the old, decaying Commodore Hotel in a New York City that was nearly bankrupt in the 1970s.
What's so fascinating is how he pulled this off. First, he gets the Hyatt Corporation on board, which gave the whole project instant credibility. Then he uses that clout to convince a cash-strapped New York City to give him an unheard-of 40-year tax break. And once the city was in, well, the banks eagerly lined up, handing him $70 million in loans. This one deal didn't just make him millions, it made him a star.
And that deal was the perfect launchpad for his next even bolder move, Trump Tower. Finished in 1983 with its insane 6-story marble atrium, this wasn't just a building. It was the physical embodiment of the Trump brand. It was unapologetically over the top, and it just screamed success. And with that win, the 1980s became this dizzying blur of expansion, all of it fueled by what seemed like a limitless line of credit. He got really, really good at using other people's money. Flushed with success, he went on this wild buying spree, collecting casinos and airline, you name it, all financed by banks who were just tripping over themselves to lend to him.
He dove headfirst into Atlantic City, opening Trump Plaza and Trump's Castle. He snatched up the iconic Plaza Hotel in Manhattan as this world-famous trophy. He even launched his own luxury airline, the Trump Shuttle. He wasn't shy about it either. He loudly called himself the king of debt, building this awe-inspiring empire on a foundation that, well, turned out to be made of glass. But by the late 80s, his ambition started to spin out of control. And one project, one monumentally expensive project, would become the anchor that dragged his entire empire to the bottom.
The Trump Taj Mahal. It was billed as the 8th wonder of the world, the most extravagant casino ever built. The price tag? Over $1 billion. I mean, back then, that was just an astronomical, unheard of sum.
But here's the real story. It's in the financing. This wasn't built with traditional bank loans. No, this was funded with high-risk junk bonds that came with a crushing 14% interest rate. The math was just unforgiving. Think about this for a second. The casino needed to make an estimated $1.4 million every single day just to cover the interest payments. It was a completely impossible target, and this ticking financial time bomb, while it led to a cascade of bankruptcies that shattered his empire. Okay, so this is a really crucial point. These were corporate bankruptcies, not personal ones. Chapter 11 is a legal tool that businesses use all the time to reorganize and shed debt while staying in business. And this whole experience, it seems to have taught him a powerful lesson, that you could use the established rules of a system, what he'd later often call a rigged system, to your own advantage. It's a theme that would echo throughout his career. But boy, did the dominoes fall fast. In 1991, the Taj Mahal filed for bankruptcy. By 92, 2 more of his casinos and his beloved Plaza Hotel followed suit. The fallout was immense. He was forced to sell his jet, his yacht, give up control of his properties, and his reputation as this infallible dealmaker, it was in tatters. By the mid-90s, his credit was just destroyed. Banks wouldn't touch him. The old way of doing business was completely over. He had to invent a totally new way to be Donald Trump. And this right here illustrates his absolutely brilliant pivot. He stopped selling real estate and started selling his most valuable and now most controversial asset, his name. Instead of taking on massive debt and risk himself, he would just license the Trump name to other developers for a very handsome fee. It was genius, a steady stream of high-margin, low-risk income.
But to make this new licensing model really explode, he needed to polish up that tarnished brand on the biggest stage you could imagine, reality television. The Apprentice wasn't just a career boost, it was a total reinvention. For 14 seasons, millions of people watched him play America's boss, a tough, decisive tycoon, a highly flattering and, let's be real, fictionalized version of himself. The show was basically a weekly commercial for the Trump brand of success, and the financial impact was just unbelievable. He reportedly netted over $427 million from the show and all its spin-off deals. And he cleverly used that TV money to prop up his actual, sometimes struggling businesses, like his golf courses. So, with his brand reborn and his pockets full of television money, he leveraged his immense celebrity for his most audacious move yet, a run for the presidency. His campaign was a masterclass in brand building applied to politics. He used the same exact tactics, a simple, powerful slogan. He dominated media cycles because he understood that controversy is its own kind of currency. And he projected that carefully constructed TV persona of the ultimate outsider CEO who could just get things done. Winning in 2016 was the ultimate merger of his celebrity and his business. And it really highlights the central lesson of his entire career: perception is reality. He proved that the story you tell about yourself, reframing bankruptcies as smart business, blurring the line between TV and real life, can be worth more than any tangible asset you own. The bankruptcies that nearly destroyed him were skillfully reframed, not as failures, but as just smart business moves. The TV show expertly blurred the line between his performance and reality. This idea that the person who controls the narrative controls everything, that's the very core of his entire saga, from Fifth Avenue all the way to the White House. And it leaves us with a final question. From the shimmering glass towers to the fictional boardroom and finally to the global stage, his greatest product has always been himself. Which really makes you wonder, in business, in politics, and in life, is a good story the most powerful asset of all?